Ladies and gentlemen, please come upstairs if you can. We're about to start Dua Iftitah in a couple of minutes. Please come upstairs. Thank you.
Today's conversation is about a healthy marriage. So make sure we all listen.
يلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنتني في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي واجب يا رحيم دعوتي وقل يا غفور عثرتي فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وعثرة قد أقلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده الباسط بالجود يده الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيد كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما. إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي. أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستانسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلما رأى مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي فتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فرحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمي بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا ظهير يعاضده. قهر بعزة الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمة العظماء فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازيه. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب عامله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. الحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم صل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصلي على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين. وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله، مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفي أمنا، يعبدك ولا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم اظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه، وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، واعزز به ذلتنا، واغن به عائلنا، واقض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وانجح به طلبتنا، وانجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، واعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة ما لنا، واعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا، وذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إلى الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله، وغيبة ولينا، وكثرة عدونا، وقلة عددنا، وشدة الفتن بنا، وتظاهر الزمان علينا. فصل على محمد وآله، وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله، وبضر تكشفه، ونصر تعزه، وسلطان حق تظهره، ورحمة منك تجللناها، وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
مرحبا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حكيم يا علي يا عزيز يا غفور يا رحيم أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء والسميع البصير وهذا شهر أنزلته وكرمته وصرفته وفضلته على السحور والشهر الذي فرست ثيابه له وشهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان وجعلت في ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من في شهر فيها زمان ولا يمن الليل من عليها بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن الليل وأخذنا الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فادخلنا وفي عليين فارفعنا وبكأس من معين من عين سلسبيل فاسقنا ومن الحور العين برحمتك فزوجنا ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فاخدمنا ومن ثمار الجنة ولحوم الطير فاطعمنا ومن ثياب السندس والحرير والاستبرق فألبسنا وليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا وفي جهنم فلا تغلنا وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تبتلنا ومن الزقوم والضريع فلا تطعمنا ومع الشياطين فلا تجعلنا وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تكببنا ومن ثياب النار وسرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحق لا إله إلا أنت فنجنا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبني من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم المكفر عن سيئاتهم وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولق قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا ذا الذي كان قبل كل شيء ثم خلق كل شيء ثم يبقى ويفنى كل شيء. يا ذا الذي ليس كمثله شيء ويا ذا الذي ليس في السماوات العلى ولا في الأرضين السفلى ولا فوقهن ولا تحتهن ولا بينهن إله يعبد غيره. لك الحمد حمدا لا يقوى على إحصائه إلا أنت. فصل على محمد وآل محمد صلاة لا يقوى على إحصائها إلا أنت. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي وقف السائلون ببابك ولاذ الفقراء بجنابك ووقفت سفينة المساكين على ساحل بحر جودك وكرمك يرجون الجواز إلى ساحة رحمتك ونعمتك. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم في هذا الشهر الشريف إلا لمن أخلص لك في صيامه وقيامه، فمن للمذنب المقصر إذا غرق في بحر ذنوبه وآثامه. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم إلا المطيعين فمن للعاصين، وإن كنت لا تقبل إلا من العاملين فمن للمقصرين. إلهي ربي الصائمون وفاز القائمون ونجا المخلصون ونحن عبيدك المذنبون، فارحمنا برحمتك واعتقنا من النار بعفوك يا كريم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم اشف كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. एक बार और मुझे गोद में ले लो बाबा, एक बार और मुझे गोद में ले लो बाबा, एक बार और मुझे गोद में ले लो बाबा, حسینا کا ہوا شور حرم میں برپا، ہو کے رخصت جو چلے گھر سے شہ کرب و بلا، کہہ کے یہ دوڑی سکینہ کے ٹھہر جاؤ ذرا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، شہن بچی کا جو یہ حال پریشان دیکھا، رو کے فرمایا کہ کیا حال میری ماں ہے لقا، جوڑ کر ننھے سے ہاتھوں کو سکینہ نے کہا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، سوچتی ہوں کہ تماچے کوئی مارے نہ میرے، گوشوارے کوئی کانوں سے اتارے نہ میرے، وہم آتے ہیں میرے دل میں نہ جانے کیا کیا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، میں سمجھتی ہوں کہ یوں ہی مجھے بہلاتے ہو، تھا نہ معلوم کہ مرنے کے لیے جاتے ہو، تم ہمیشہ کے لیے ہوتے ہو اب مجھ سے جدا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، تم نہ آؤ گے تو اے بابا بہت روؤں گی، کس کے سینے پہ بتا دیجیے پھر سوؤں گی، نہ تو بھیا علی اکبر ہے نہ عباس چچا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، صلوات۔
آپ لوگ تھوڑا تھوڑا آگے آ جائیں پلیز، کم فارورڈ، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ مولانا صاحب کہہ رہے ہیں بہت آگے آئیں۔
مجنودی محمد و آل محمد بلند تر صلوات، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمد للہ رب العالمین، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض مولانا حجة ابن الحسن أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين أسد الله الغالب غالب على كل غالب مطلوب كل طالب مظهر العجائب والغرائب مولانا علي بن أبي طالب فالمتقون فيها هم أهل الفضائل منطقهم الصواب. Respected Maulana Sahib, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Azizan, we were discussing regarding the sins that prevent us from really progressing in this month. One of those sins is the sins of the tongue, namely the sin which is very much a habitual sin in our communities, unfortunately, and that is the sin of ghibat, backbiting. And yesterday we had defined ghibat, what it is. We gave a few examples of how it could be. Ghibat can be, for example, with your words, it can be ghibat. Sometimes with your ishara and your expressions, it can be ghibat. Sometimes even just with a facial expression or a kind of gesture, it can be ghibat. Basically, ghibat is that when you do something to disparage, to hurt, to defame, to say something negative about someone in their absence. Now, there are a number of questions which come up from this. Now, I didn't want to touch upon this, but because a few of you asked yesterday a few questions, I thought it's better we clarify. Because this sin is so destructive, it is so destructive. It will finish your iman, it will finish your akhirat. On the day of judgment, as I said yesterday, the Holy Prophet says that a man will appear on the day of judgment. They'll say, Khudaya, where are all my good deeds? Allah will say to him, well, you did ghibat about such and such a person. Your a'mal have been transferred into his account. And vice versa. You could appear on Qayamat and you could have lots of deeds and you could say, Khudaya, this is not mine. Where are all these good deeds come from? I didn't do all of these. Allah will say, such and such did ghibat about you. His good deeds have been transferred over to your account. So we have this. But there are a few very, very important points regarding ghibat that we have to understand. First of all, I don't usually like to talk about these things because these are going to be the exceptions to ghibat. What does exception mean? Exception means that most of the time these will not apply. Unfortunately, Mu'mineen, when we say sometimes exceptions, Mu'mineen take these exceptions to be the norm. This is why I don't like to usually say it, because then people find a loophole in everything and they'll say, this is an exception, this is an exception, this is an exception. No. If you want a rule of thumb, I would say 9.5 out of 10, these exceptions will not apply. Maybe 0.5 out of 10, maybe they will apply. So please, Azizan, if you've understood that and if we've put down the markers and the foundations of our discussions, let's continue with a loud salawat. One exception regarding ghibat is when someone comes to you, for example, for a reference regarding marriage proposals. Tell me, do you know this girl? How is she? We are interested in taking this forward for marriage. Do you know this boy? Tell me about him. Do you think he'd be a good match for my daughter, for example? In that situation, ghibat is jaiz. However, again, let me make it very clear. Ghibat is jaiz in that situation only to the extent which is necessary. So let's say you know 10 negative things about that boy. or 10 negative things about that girl, to fulfill the purpose of what this person is asking you, 3 is enough. Just to say 3 is enough. Then those 7 you should not say. Just suffice with 3. Just finish it there. Don't go more. Do you know how important a mu'min's izzat is? A mu'min's izzat, hadith says, the izzat of a mu'min in the eyes of Allah is more than the hurmat of the holy Kaaba itself. Izzat of a mu'min in the eyes of God is more than the hurmat of the holy Kaaba itself. Izzat of a mu'min. You must always keep this front and center, that I must protect mu'mineen's izzat and honor. So this is one area in which ghibat is jaiz. But again, only to the extent necessary, and you have to be sure. You have to be sure. Many a times, now we'll go on to the second point. Many a times, why do I say you have to be sure? Baba, if someone did a mistake once upon a time in his life, many years ago, if one girl, one woman did some mistake in her life many years ago, don't continue that same negativity today. How do you know? They may have changed. They may have improved. They may have sought forgiveness. If Allah has forgiven them, who are me and you just to keep on repeating their shortcomings and their mistake? So this is point number 2. Someone yesterday only asked me, what if there's someone who defrauds? He's defrauded me, for example. He's defrauded me. Now, isn't it my duty to go and tell everybody? No, not necessarily, no. If it was a one-off, if it was a mistake, if it was even if it's not a mistake, let's say he really, really defrauded you out of his evil. He was an evil person, he defrauded you. Now for you to go and tell everybody, how do you know he's going to do it to other people? Maybe he's not going to do it to other people. Yes, a habitual, someone who makes it his, habit. He's always defrauding people. He's got a track record. You can see that he hasn't changed. There you have some leeway. Other than that, no. If someone does something to me, I don't know if he's going to do it to other people. Why should I tell anyone? Yes, if you come to me with a very specific question, that you have done business with this guy. How was your experience? I'm thinking of going into business with him. And this is a third point. To protect another person from the evil of someone, you can do ghibah to the extent necessary and if you're sure. But not that once upon a time, 5 years ago, he frauded me, he conned me, he did me over. How do I know he's going to do it now? He may have changed. Fourth area of ghibat where it's jaiz. The thing which Islam doesn't like is that when someone is doing something in private, it's wrong, it's a guna, it's a sin, but they're doing it in private. They're not openly doing it. They're doing it behind closed doors. Their ghibat is not jaiz. If I find out about someone doing a sin privately behind closed doors, he's not come and done it in the open, I cannot tell everyone about it. Yes, when someone loses their own shame. See, this is another category now. Someone loses their own shame. They don't care now whether someone knows or doesn't know. I'm not bothered. Someone knows I sin or doesn't know. I don't really care. I will come in public and, for example, na'udhu billah, God forbid, I will drink alcohol in public. Ghibat is jaiz. Because you yourself are doing it in public. You don't care what people say about you or that people see you. So your ghibat is jaiz. Even then, I would still say be careful. I would still say be careful. Generally speaking, rule of thumb is this: don't talk about other people. If you want to make life very easy, very straightforward, very clean on your hearts, don't talk about other people. 99.9% of the things we say about other people, we don't need to say them. If you think about someone, and this comes on to the second point now, husn zan and su zan. If you think about someone, he did something, or she did something, give a good excuse. I bumped into this guy, he didn't say salam properly. Say to yourself, you know what, it's probably my fault. I didn't probably hear him properly. This person spoke rudely, he must have had a bad day. This person didn't come to my house, for example, I invited them. It doesn't really matter. People have things to do in their life. I'm not such a big priority that everyone has to come to my house. You must give people excuses. You must give people excuses. Someone asked Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala. They said, Mawla, what is the difference between haqq and batil? Haqq and batil, truth and falsehood. What is the difference? Define this for us. You ask me or someone else, they'll go into a long philosophical essay and tell you that haqq is this and batil is this and this and that. Imam Hassan alayhi salam says 4 fingers. He said, what do you mean? He said 4 fingers. What you hear is batil. What you see is haqq. 4 fingers. The distance of 4 fingers. Don't be quick to judge people. Don't be quick to label people. Don't be quick to make judgments on people. Yes, Azizan, there are, and I'm sure you'll have more questions for me afterwards. But Maulana, what about this? But Maulana, what about that? Yes, all of these will come in your mind. We will answer them, inshallah. But generally speaking, I just want to tell you, most of the time, our talking about others, if it's negative, we shouldn't be doing it. Just hold this as a rule of thumb in your life. There are certain areas where we have to be more vigilant and more careful. For example, let's say, we say that, for example, this guy has come. He wants to lead the whole community. He wants to become the head of this center or any other center, or he wants to lead prayers, or he wants to give lectures on the pulpit. Yes, there we have to be careful. Now you have chosen someone to lead your deen and dunya. You have to be a bit careful. You have to look into that person. Not that we want to do ghibat about them. You have to do a bit of exercise, research, try and find out, is this person suitable or not? The way you try and find out about the spouse of your child, for example, you have to do a bit of digging. And then if you find that this person is not suitable, maybe you have to sometimes reveal things. But other than that, no. Generally in our lives, mu'mineen, we should not be speaking about others so much. Inshallah, may Allah give us tawfiq. With a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, Azizan, a new chapter in the chapter of Ghibat. You thought it was over. It is not over because there are more complications. A new chapter in the chapter of Ghibat. Let's say, I'm not doing Ghibat, inshallah. But let's say we are in a gathering, you are in a gathering, I'm in a gathering, there are people around us who are doing Ghibat. And I'm there, you're there, we're sitting. Now what do we do? Now what do we do? I've trained myself, you've trained yourself, for example. We are not going to be those who do Ghibat. But now you're in a situation where other people around you are doing Ghibat. Now what do you do? So this is a musibat in itself. This is a big musibat in itself. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. He says, the one who listens to Ghibat is as one of those who does Ghibat. To listen is a sin. To perform Ghibat is a sin. To listen to Ghibat is a sin. So what do you do now? Let's say you're in this situation where you are there and someone is doing Ghibat in your presence about someone else. Now what do? You have a number of different obligations upon you. The first thing is, you must help the mu'min about whom the Ghibat is being done. You must. Not that you can, you should, you might. No, you must. It is your duty to help that mu'min whose izzat is being shredded. You must help them. What does this mean? Again, from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. if one defends, this is the Holy Prophet saying, if one defends his believer brother's honor while backbiting is being done about him in a way that he proves him to be faultless. In other words, what that means is, for example, someone is doing ghibat. He says, for example, do you know this person, he didn't pray today. Just an example, silly example. This person didn't pray today. If you are in that gathering, you should say, you know what? He does pray. I've seen him pray many times. Maybe we're mistaken. Maybe you're mistaken. Maybe you didn't see him. Maybe he prayed earlier. Maybe he prayed after. Maybe he had an excuse that he was going to pray later. Maybe, how do you know? He was in a situation where he prayed in a different way. Maybe we don't know the full facts. Prove him to be faultless. Show him to be faultless. If he does this, the Holy Prophet says, then Allah shall remove from him thousands of mischiefs from the world and the hereafter. Whoever defends his mu'min brother's izzat and honor, Allah will remove from him thousands of bala and mischief from dunya and akhirat. To defend a believer's izzat. You know, a believer's izzat comes from where? Where does a believer's izzat come from? What do you think? Someone tell me. A believer, mu'min's izzat comes from where? From Allah. وَلِلَّهِ الْإِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah gives izzat. Who are you to remove the izzat of a mu'min? Who are you to shred the honor of a mu'min? Rasulullah continues, but if he does not dispel these doubts upon the believer in spite of being able to do so, then his sin shall be 70 times that of the one who is doing backbiting. So the backbiter has one sin of backbiting. You hear it and don't defend that brother or sister, your sin is 70 times worse. Now, this is serious stuff. And we sometimes think that how come we're not progressing spiritually? How come we don't have the barakat and the tawfiqat in our life? How come we don't have these blessings? Baba, there's guna happening all around us and we don't do anything about it. So you have to try to absolve the mu'min in any way and whatever way possible. You can produce a valid excuse, for example. If this is not possible, then you can draw the attention of the one who's doing ghibat that, look, people are not infallible. People can make mistakes. Maybe it was a one-off mistake. Maybe he did it unconsciously, subconsciously. He didn't mean to. In any way you can cover that guy up. And especially if you think someone has fallen into sin, then definitely pray for them. Say, Khudaya, forgive this brother of mine. Why do we rejoice when you find out that another mu'min has committed a sin? Why do we rejoice? Why does it make us feel good? It shouldn't. We say, Khudaya, cover his sin, cover my sins as well. Forgive his sins, forgive my sins as well. Who are we to label and to ask for the wrath of God upon people? So, now we come to another chapter of ghibat. You thought it was over. It's not over yet. Let's have one salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, this is a very sensitive point. You are in a gathering and ghibat is happening about someone. The person doing ghibat is a very respected, possibly elder person. Now what do you do? Maybe they're an older relative, father, grandfather, mother, grandmother, something like that. Now what do you do? Because now it's going to get tricky. On one hand, if you try to correct them, they'll say this is lack of respect. If you try to guide them, they'll say this is not your position to tell me anything. You know, unfortunately, we have this kind of attitude sometimes that we are trying to do something good, amr bil ma'ruf, but the person doesn't take it nicely. Now what do we do? So this question was posed to Ayatollah Sistani. May Allah give him a long life. The question is this: an elderly person who has a habit of doing ghibat, it is very difficult for me to stop him. I also don't want to hear the ghibat, but I am forced to. So what should I do? Mu'mineen, When you say you're forced to hear ghibat, what does that mean? I can't think of many situations really that we are forced to hear ghibat. I mean, maybe if you're stuck in a lift, in an elevator, you guys say elevator, we say lift. If you're stuck in a lift, in an elevator somewhere for a few hours, then you can't escape. Other than that, I don't know where you'll be actually forced to hear ghibat. Okay, but let's play with this example. You're in a situation where you're being forced to hear ghibat. The person doing it is someone elder or someone respected. Now, what do you do? So Agha Sistani answers like this. To listen to someone who is backbiting a mu'min is a sin. We've already said that. If you can stop him, you should do so. First thing, brother, let's stop doing ghibat. Brother, let's not talk about this. Brother, I don't think this is good. Stop it if you can, number one. Number two, if you cannot, then leave the place where ghibat is taking place. Excuse yourself. Excuse yourself. Say, I have to go make a call. I have to go to the bathroom. I need to do something else, whatever. Get out of there. If you can excuse yourself, excuse yourself. If you cannot do this and you're forced to stay there, then at least turn your attention to something else. At least turn your attention to something else. Try your best to concentrate on something else. Try your best not to let that impact you. So maybe those sound waves just hit your eardrums, but they don't go into the brain. Try your best to turn your attention to something else. Now, final chapter. You thought it was over, but it's not. Final chapter. Now let's say, God forbid you've done ghibat. And now you have seen the light and the error of your ways, and you wish to ask forgiveness because you have done a sin against another human being. So you have violated haqqun nas. And I told you yesterday, I wish people were like Allah. To deal with Allah is very easy. To deal with people is very hard. Now you've done ghibat about someone, God forbid. Now what do you do? Because you need that person to forgive you. If you go and tell that person, I've done ghibat about you, can you forgive me? That might make things worse. Because now they're going to ask. What are they going to ask? What did you say about me? When did you say it? Why did you say it? Who did you say it to? So now what do you do? So Agha Sistani says, look, if you think it's going to make matters worse, then you go to that person and you just say in a general way, brother, sister, if I have done anything against you, please forgive me. That covers everything. In that way, your izzat is maintained, his or her izzat is maintained, your relationship is maintained, your harmony is maintained, your unity is maintained, your love and affection with one another is maintained. We don't need to go into details. We should be mature enough. We should be mature enough not to ask each other a lot of details about this. Just forgive one another. If someone comes to you, this is especially important before Shab-e Qadr comes. We need to go into Shab-e Qadr with very clean hearts. We need to go into Shab-e Qadr with clean hearts. We need to forgive each other. Let bygones be bygones, forgive and forget. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, right? How would He forgive us if we don't forgive anyone else? We want to maintain all of these small grudges and issues that we have with one another, and we say, Khudaya, you forgive me. We need to forgive one another and come to some harmony in the community, love, affection. Imam-e-Zaman wants to see all of us united and strong. How will he come if we're not united? Who will rally around Imam-e-Zaman? The other Aimma alayhimus salam, why did they not stand up and uprise and do the revolution? They didn't have supporters. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with the situation. They didn't have supporters. People used to come to Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma sallallahu that Mawla, we are your Shias. We're so many of us in Khorasan. Imam says, how many of you are willing to, and then he gave the example that his companion came in, Harun-e-Makki. Harun-e-Makki was a companion of the Imam Sadiq. So a guy from Khorasan had first come to Imam Sadiq. He was speaking to Imam. He says, how long are you going to suffer under the Bani Abbas? Uprise, we'll be with you. There's so many of us in Khorasan, in other places. We'll come to your help. Imam says, okay, yeah, sure. In that time, Harun-e-Makki came. Harun-e-Makki came, Imam says to him, salam, salam. Imam had a kind of oven, like a very hot, like tanur oven type. He says to Harun-e-Makki, can you go and sit inside the oven, which was blazing hot with fire? Can you go and sit inside the oven? Harun-e-Makki says, chash, yes. Takes off his shoes, goes and sits inside the oven. Now this Khurasani guy is getting stressed, he's getting anxious. He's like, what's going on here? Imam just told one of his disciples to go and sit inside a fire. And that guy just did it. So this Khurasani is looking at Imam, he's getting stressed. Imam is continuing, he's talking this and that. That Khurasani is saying, Mawla, the guy just went and sat in the fire. Imam says, yes, I know. He says, but Mawla, he must be burning. Imam says, go and have a look. He goes and he has a look. He sees Harun-e-Makki sitting with sukoon, doing his zikr, doing his tasbih. No worry in the world, in the middle of the fire. Fire is not even burning him. Imam says, do you see how he went in there? Not even a chun or chera, not even a question to me. But Mawla, why? Why are you telling me for fire? What kind of fire? Will I get burned? Am I in danger? Nothing. Did you see how he went and sat inside? Now tell me, you're telling me that I should uprise. How many people in Khorasan do you have like Harun-e-Makki? He says, Mawla, wallahi, not even one like Harun-e-Makki. Not even one. So what kind of uprising? What kind of Allahumma ajjili waliyik al-faraj are we saying? What kind of Allahumma kulli waliyik al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan are we saying? We need to forgive, forget, stop speaking about one another, less negativity, more compassion with one another, less judgments, less spying, all of these things, inshallah. May Allah give us tawfiq. Tomorrow, inshallah, mu'mineen, I want to speak about du'as and why we feel that our du'as in this holy month, or any month for that matter, are not being answered. Inshallah, that is the mawzu for tomorrow. During the blessed life of Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. As you know, Rasulullah's life in Makkah became very, very difficult. Attempts were made to assassinate him. Lots of difficulties were put on him. Lots of difficulties were levied at his family members. Allah says to the Holy Prophet, now you need to migrate. He decides to migrate. He migrates from Makkah to Medina. Before leaving Makkah, the Holy Prophet was known as Amin, Amanat Dar, the trustworthy one. People used to actually deposit their trusts and amanat with Rasulullah. Even his worst enemies had kept their amanat with Rasulullah. So when he migrated, he tells Amirul Mu'mineen, he says, Ali, you are to remain a few days more. Let me go. You remain a few days more. All these different amanat which I have kept of people, you go and return them. And then you join me. But when you join me, you have to bring my other amanat with you. When you join me in Medina, you bring my other amanat. Bring my daughter, Janab Fatima. Bring your own mother, Janab Fatima bint Asad, which Rasulullah used to say she was my mother. And bring also Fatima bint Zubair, the three Fatimas. One Janab Fatima, Salamullahi alayha, one Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen's mother, and one Fatima bint Zubair. These three Fatimas, bring them with you. Amirul Mu'mineen does all the amanats back to their owners. The three Fatimas are with him. He leaves Makkah. On the journey towards Medina, the mushrikeen of Makkah, they say, he is leaving with the daughter of the Prophet. If we can go ambush him, capture the daughter of the Prophet, kidnap her, then this will force the Prophet to come back to Medina, to come back to Makkah to rescue her. So we hold her as ransom. Amir al-Mu'mineen is going. The mushrikeen attack and they try to ambush him. Amir al-Mu'mineen single-handedly fights them off, protects the ladies. He himself becomes severely wounded. He himself becomes severely wounded in that battle with the mushrikeen. But he was able to defend them, and the mushrikeen go and they say, we can't touch these women as long as Ali is there. As he reaches Medina, Rasulullah is waiting. Rasulullah is waiting. Amir al-Mu'mineen takes the reins of the horse or camel of Bibi Fatima and he gives it into the hand of Rasulullah and says, Ya Rasulullah, here is your daughter, your amanat I have given back to you, safe and sound. The way you left her, I have delivered her to you again. But that was on that day. Amir al-Mu'mineen, on the day when he buried Janab Fatima, he didn't say this. On the day he was burying Janab Fatima, Amir al-Mu'mineen addresses Rasulullah and says, Ya Rasulullah, the amanat which you had given to me, I'm giving back to you. But this is not the same Fatima which you had left with me. This Fatima which I am returning to you now is a different Fatima. Ya Rasulullah, this Fatima which I am returning to you, you can ask her, why is her rib broken? You can ask her, why is her body full of bruises? You can ask her, what did your ummah do to her? You can ask her, Ya Rasulullah, why did she say to me, Ya Abul Hassan, kafinni bil-layl wa ghassilni bil-layl. Why did she tell me, Ya Abul Hassan, do my ghusl at night, do my kafan at night, bury me at night? Why did she not want anyone to come to her funeral, Ya Rasulullah? You can ask her. وَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ وَقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We ask Allah for tawfiq. We ask Allah for forgiveness. We ask Allah for the hastening of the reappearance of the 12th Imam, to keep us all within the love and muhabbat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to keep us under the shade of Imam-e-Zaman, to give us the love always of Janab Fatima, to keep us with the spirit of Shuhada Karbala, to keep our ulama with a long life always with us for as long as possible, inshallah. Oh Allah, we ask you, reward the marhumeen of the sponsors of tonight's majlis. We ask you to grant them a high status in the hereafter, to give us unity in the community and strength as a nation to help welcome our 12th Imam when he comes. Mu'mineen, may I request you for the sponsors, marhumeens, to recite Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha, and for all marhumeen, Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Mu'mineen, as usual, let's recite 5 times Amma Yujib for all those who are unwell. Janab Bakr Rizvi, Sister Salma, Sultan Karamali, and Sultan Karamali and his wife, Sama Ladak sister, all of these people and more who are in a bad situation throughout the world, let's all remember them with 5 times Amma Yujib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Women, with your loudest voices for the quickening of the reappearance of the 12th Imam, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد والأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا من ذلك وفرجهم عنهم فرجا قريبا قلمه البصر وهو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد يكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 ساعة 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 العجل 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 برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا محمد بن عبد الله. السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى من المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة بن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
محمد اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وخائذا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توءا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an informal program with the Maulana in a few minutes. Those who want to stay, please stay. In a few minutes, the program will start, inshallah.